tuned into the truth frequency.
Your protection from deception. This is Truth Frequency Radio.
Thou didst fix the earth on its foundation so that it never can be shaken. Psalms 104, verse 5. Welcome, friends. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed here on Truth Frequency Radio. We thank you for taking the time to join us this evening. I have as co-hosts with me Cathy Dunson. Cathy, are you there, sister?
I am. Good evening, everybody.
And we have as special guests both Karlee Sunshine Midrano and Patricia Steere. And I do believe that Mark Sargent will also be joining us later in the evening. Is that correct, Cathy?
Yes, second hour.
Okay, second hour. Wonderful. All right, excellent. Well, Karlee, let me give you a chance to address the audience and share where people can go to find and support your work and anything that you've been doing of late.
Yes, absolutely. First off, I want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. Sound all right?
You sound fine.
Alrighty. Well, I just want to thank you for having me on your show again. So very honored. Very excited about the conversation this evening. If anyone wants to find me, I do have a YouTube channel. It's called Karlee Sunshine. Mostly go over the flat earth truth theories. I do video logging. I do time-lapse videos sometimes. I study the sun and the moon. And I also have many Facebook groups, including my baby, which I call Flat and Happy. And those are all predominantly flat earth groups as well.
Excellent. Patricia, are you there, sister?
Yes, I am, Zen. I hope everyone can hear me because I'm in a car and I soon will be home due to a traffic situation that I found myself in. So am I good, Cathy and Zen?
Yes, you sound good.
Yes.
Okay.
Zen, you're
right.
going in and out a little bit like you did last night, just so you know.
Okay.
You're good now. You're
okay,
good now.
I'll just keep the mic where it's at now then, and then hopefully it will all be good. But yes, Patricia, if you would, if you can while you're driving, just give out your website contact information and where people can go to find and support your work, your radio broadcasts.
Thank you. I want to say hello to Karlee Sunshine first. Definitely a wonderful YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel as well, and it's called Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes. And my channel isn't about the science. Karlee's has a lot in it. Mine is about the people, the actual flat earthers, the people who make the videos. I interview various flat earthers individually and have panel shows where we have discussions on every single topic. From experiments to God, everything. We cover it all. And my channel is called, like I said, Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes, and it's on YouTube.
Excellent. And this is a show we will be reviewing and kind of setting up the whole premise for the gathering that is to occur really soon on November 9th and 10th in Raleigh, North Carolina, the International Flat Earth Conference 2017. It will also be the place where Scientism Exposed, Robbie Davidson's new film, will be featured, the second one. And there's a lot going on with a lot of different individuals and groups that are coming that will be filming and creating documentaries. And it's going to be a huge event. And both Karlee and Patricia will be speaking and hosting and presenting there. And so, Karlee, can you talk a little bit about that? And then we'll go to Patricia.
Yes, absolutely. And first of all, I wanted to say hi back to Patricia. It's always so nice to talk with you. Always just very pleasant, always uplifting, motivating. And I will tell you that in the past, Patricia, we know each other on Facebook as well. There's so many times that I have just migrated to her page because she's such a wealth of knowledge and information. She is constantly supporting other flat earth groups, other flat earth content channels, and always sharing and posting their content and tweeting it. And it's like, if you want to find out what's new and what's exciting and what's going on in the flat earth community, she is the place to go for such a wealth of knowledge. So I really appreciate that, Patricia. And on top of that, the interviews that you do are just fantastic. It really has given us such a good idea and a good introduction to so many content providers that we may never ever find because they get lost and there's so much content out there. And so I will be a guest panel speaker at the conference coming up here in November, coming up very soon. And I will actually be on Patricia Steere's Flat Earth and Other Hot Potatoes question and answer show on the 10th, which will be the last day. And I think it actually is one of the last events that are happening. So question and answer show. I'm very excited to be up there. I hope we get some really excellent questions and that we answer them to the fullest of our ability. And I can't wait to be able to share with everyone. And I'm so excited to meet people and see people. I'm nervous and just the normal kind of anxiousness, but the excitement on meeting everyone is completely overpowering that.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the more fascinating aspects of the gathering, is that people will finally be able to put face and personality to the names and channels that they've been listening and studying and researching together with for so very long. And yes, as far as the uniqueness of Patricia's show, that is one of the things that, as far as bringing forth the different individuals and helping people to share their story and getting individuals more familiar with one another with regard to the community, that is one of the aspects that you're certainly very good at, Patricia, and that makes your show unique as well. And so can you talk a little bit about that and also the things that you'll be speaking on and presenting at the conference?
Well, I just want to thank Karlee for saying such nice things about me, and definitely for anything involving photography, just outdoor walks, looks at the sky, and just a genuine human being full of warmth. That's where Karlee Sunshine shines. So I feel like I'm a Karlee Sunshine fangirl, and sometimes just the most pleasant person. Before we let this degenerate into a I love you, you love me show, there's nothing wrong with that. To answer your question, yes, as Karlee said, I'm going to be hosting this show where we will have many of the different YouTube channel flat earthers up on stage and seated, and I'll be at a podium. There will be microphones in the audience with questions that they will pose to the individual people, and the audience are the ones who will be coming up with the questions. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what kind of questions that people have for people like Karlee or Bob Nodell from Globebusters, or Jaron and others who are going to be on the panel. The panel's taken a little shift, so we're jiggling around a couple of the different people, so I'm not exactly quite sure of 100% of who's going to be on it. So, but I do know for sure Karlee's going to be there, and it's just going to be nice because we hear everyone on YouTube talking about what they've got to present, but to have somebody from the audience, I guess, because when you're watching on YouTube, unless you're involved in a live chat, you're silent. You're in your own home, you're in your own car, and you're maybe listening to a live video or watching it at a later date. You can't ask a question to the screen, but in this case, we're going to have about 500 people who will be able to formulate a question and pose it, maybe a question they've always wanted to ask somebody. And they're going to be questions about either the science of things or their personal view on things or opinions, or maybe even predictions about where flat earth is going in the future. To me, that's one of the most important questions. Why are we doing all of this? I mean, I think we all feel compelled. I think there's the power of the creator that's almost compelling all of us forward.
Yeah, it's a very
It's not
interesting
easy
city.
to be involved with the flat Earth.
No, not at all.
That's pretty much it. That's yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing with regard to the flat Earth is when you come out in support of it as truth, it seems like you automatically make yourself a target for ridicule and criticism, and of course for the whole lunatic fringe side of it, because most of the world is still ignorant and still lost in delusion when it comes to this particular revelation. But Cathy, let me give you a chance to comment, and also, do you want to talk about our being exhibitor there, and what you get ladies to be?
Yeah, we're losing you a little bit again, Zen. We're really looking forward to it. Actually, Laurel and I were talking today because we're driving. Karlee, I don't know your situation, how far you're coming or how you're getting there. Patricia, I'm sure, is flying, but we're going to have a little trek. It's about 12 hours, 4 hours more for me, so like 16. And then Zen has told us we have to sleep in the budget rental truck we're taking instead of having a hotel room, which actually I'm kidding.
Yeah, just for fun.
So
you
we're
have an
bringing
air mattress and a fan back there, so
yeah, and some extension.
I say
cords.
do it. Do it. It'll be an adventure, and you should live stream all that. That's so funny.
I know.
Party in the back of the U-Haul.
That's right.
Well, Zen has a really huge poster of the Gleason map that's framed, and that's the only way I could think of to bring it was to rent some kind of moving truck. So that, and plus we can bring as many books as we can fit in, and so we're going to bring a ton of books and all of Laurel's things. I always pick on Laurel. Is she in the chat? I'm in trouble now. And so anyway, we're really looking forward to it. We'll be displaying books. We're also going to have a drawing, and Patricia and Mark have agreed they're going to do the drawing for us to actually give it away right before the Flatty Awards. Where we decided to give away 10 Flat Earth books, and so we'll have a way people can fill out slips, and so we'll just have a drawing and do it that way. And so there'll just be a whole lot of interesting things to see at our exhibit. Carol will be with us. She's the other person that works kind of behind the scenes on our website, and Zen has been writing books every day and publishing a new book every day. I've put a couple out myself. Actually, the latest one I did is one the Flat Earth community likes a lot. It's called Kings Dethroned by Gerard Hickson, and that's from early 1900s, 1920. It's a really great read, and so that's kind of what's going on our plate.
Yeah, and just for so people can know, we will be giving out 10 different individual titles that we have published through Sacred Word Publishing, like Cathy mentioned, King's Throne, 50 Reasons, Copernicus versus the Bible, The Earth Stands Fast, my own particular trilogy that I've written on the flat Earth and the firmament and the enclosed world system. The flat Earth is key to decrypt the Book of Enoch, the firmament, vaulted dome of the earth, paradise, the sides of the north, and the mountain of the congregation. And then we have other classics like Alexander Gleason's Is the Earth a Globe, Gabrielle Henriette's Heaven and Earth, and other such titles. And so all of that we'll have autographed copies and give them out as door prizes, and so you can check out all of this material. And but Laura will be there filming and photographing and taking pictures and interviewing with others. And so it's going to be a very exciting time. Patricia, how long is the panel that you will be doing?
It's going to be an hour, and I think I'm going to get involved in that drawing for books that you've got, because there's a flat earther who doesn't produce videos but is a friend of my show and of all of us, sort of behind the scenes, named Simone, and she had certificates that she sent to me to donate, to give away. And what better way is to throw them in the hat with the other people who are signing up for books. So now we've got, what, 13? Oh, that's unlucky. You're 10 books.
We'll add another one.
Yeah, we'll throw in a poster or something, yeah.
I don't believe in any of that anyway, of course.
I know.
We're all lucky if you
Yeah.
win something, and even if you don't, you were there and you had a chance.
Right.
But
Yeah.
so the little pot just got a little sweeter. And it's going to be about an hour or so of the panel. And I think I might open by asking a question of each panel member to give a very quick response. And then after the audience questions, I'll close by asking another question of all of the panelists to close it out. So hopefully that'll all be able to happen within an hour. An hour can go either incredibly slow or fast, depending upon, I guess if you're a child in school, where recess, it's slow, and if you're doing something super exciting and engaging, like being at a flat earth conference, it'll go by in the blink of an eye, probably.
Yes, I'm sure. And I think that an hour, it's going to go by very quickly because so many people have so many questions. And but I think that another thing that is interesting about this community is that there are a lot of individuals that have dedicated a lot of time to exploring and introspecting this particular topic, and that together we have all learned a lot from each other. Most certainly there still is a lot yet to be delved into and a lot of things to be explained, but the fact that we are all approaching and discussing this particular issue with so many people, a lot of things are coming to light, and I can only imagine that more and more of that will occur with this particular conference, the contacts that will be made, the conversations and discussions that will be had, and that there will be a lot of friendships and a lot of connections made at this conference, which will be only further inspiration and down the line as far as learning about these things. Is there any particular questions or topics that you know off the top of your head that you will be kind of bringing forth? Because I'm sure a lot of people have maybe already said. Patricia?
I wasn't sure if we were losing your connection or not, or if it's just me, since I'm almost home in this traffic jam.
Okay, you
is
could.
The connection?
Yeah, Zin, you keep going in and out still.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on.
It sounds like an internet bandwidth connection where the connection is fading in and out. I don't think it's your microphone.
Okay, well, we had this problem last night too, so
yeah.
Well, let me let you. I'm gonna just kind of stay quiet, Cathy, and I'm gonna let you three kind of share a conversation, and I'll jump in every now and then. But I don't want to dominate, especially if I'm going in and out. So.
What you had just said, I caught only briefly. I think you asked something about some of the main topics that are going to be addressed. Content provider, be a speaker, is pretty much on their own way to come up with what there's going to be a Flat Earth 101 basics sort of thing to be discussed, and we may have a brand new announcement of a new presenter, although I'm not at liberty yet to divulge who that is because it's not set in stone yet. So that should be pretty exciting when that happens, if it happens, to get right up toward the 11th hour to have a really a new exciting person join the club. But to me, the most important thing about the thing is not the content provider speaking. It's everybody meeting everybody. Everybody, even if content providers might be on a riser or a stage, we're all on the same level. And I don't mean that in the way that we're all on flat earth. I mean that there's no one who's special because they're speaking. It's all all of us having a chance to meet in one place and actually, shake hands and look into each other's eyes, not on YouTube. We've had a lot of Flat Earth meetups and mixers in the past year and past 2 years. This past year, they've really been increasing. And so many of us have had the chance to meet each other. But this is going to be such a large group of people in one place. I can imagine that the energy level will be so high the roof could blow off. It's going to be I'm so excited that I've been counting the days, and I haven't done anything like that since I was a little girl for Christmas.
Well, in Atlanta, when we had the debate in August, that was the first time that most of us had met for the first time. This is the first time I met Zen and Laurel and so many people that I have known for years, even through Facebook and through this ministry and a ministry before. The entire weekend went really fast, and it was just such a joy to be able to spend the time with people and people that understand you and get you and have the same interests in knowing the truth spiritually, knowing about this revelation that we're all learning more about, I mean, almost daily, the flat earth. So I expect that to be a continuation in just, in a grander scale here in North Carolina coming up. Karlee?
Yep, sorry, I had to unmute. I feel the same way that both of you feel as far as the excitement with the conference coming up. I'll tell you right now, I'm probably going to cry. And I don't want to seem like a ball baby. But it's just going to be, I think, just so emotionally overwhelming in a happy sort of way and in like a completion kind of way. And how you guys are saying, like, for so long, even before Flat Earth, for so long, I felt kind of like an outcast and that I didn't quite belong in this world. I don't belong even with the friends that I have here that are very close to me. There's always just something that sets me apart as far as how I look at the world. And when Flat Earth came around, not that this is a negative thing, but it still has an impact on my life emotionally. It's not always, I don't know how to explain this. You can look at it as a negative thing, or you can look at it as, okay, it's not a comfortable thing, but I can react to this a different way and choose to make this a positive thing, even if it is uncomfortable. And even if I feel, set apart or different, it's that way for a purpose. I feel like studying the flat earth and helping to share this truth is something that I've been preparing for my whole life. So something like this conference, I don't think it's the necessarily the climax of the flat earth right now, but it definitely is like a huge stepping stone. And I think it's going to be extremely emotionally overwhelming. And I think it's going to go by way too fast. But I have never been to any flat earth meetup. I've not met any flat earthers in real life, as far as, other than I have a few friends here that I've helped change their mind and they've become flat earthers. So locally, there's a few people.
You went to the first billboard.
Oh, yeah.
That was really great.
Oh, yeah. That was extremely emotional as well, but there was no one there. It was just me. There was no one there. It was just me. I was actually very, very much looking forward to, I thought this was going to be it. This was going to be the day that I was going to get there, and there'd be like a dozen other flat earthers that just happened to be in Pennsylvania that I didn't know existed. And it was going to be like, I'm home, but it didn't happen, but that's okay. It still was an awesome experience.
The second one was actually here in Tulsa, which that was amazing to me that one was here. And then Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, his billboard went up that was planned to be there for the conference. So that was really great.
Yeah. And there's a couple other ones too. And it's so wonderful. And I don't like to toot my own horn and say that I started this trend, but I absolutely love watching the videos where people have traveled to see the billboard and they're so excited. They're so enthusiastic. They're just like, and it's funny. I had people say that was fake, that I was CGI and that the billboard was CGI. And I'm like, I don't know how you think that could happen. Like, I don't know what else I could have done. I took pictures and video with me there with it. Like, It's so
That's
funny.
an extreme backlash for NASA,
Oh,
I think.
yeah, so hilarious. But also to answer the other question that Zen had, as far as what are we hoping to see? I think maybe what he was asking was, what are we hoping that maybe our panel is going to be talking about, or what are the questions going to be? Because I'm not 100% sure what everyone's going to be talking about as far as the actual, keynote speakers. But um, I'm hoping our panel gets very strong, respectful, um, like curious questions. Like I'd love to hear things like, and if each panel member gets to answer it, or if it's just designated for individual people, I don't know. But I'd love to hear the questions like, do you think we have a dome or firmament, or do you think it's an infinite plane? Stuff like that, like stuff where, look, we're going to be a good example for the rest of flat Earth, and we're all going to have differences of opinions, maybe different than even what you're giving us as an option in this question, and we're going to share it respectfully, and we're all going to be still friends afterwards. We're not going to get out all out brawl on the stage, and that's the kind of stuff I hope that gets questioned, and that we can all answer it, and like I said, and do it respectfully and be a good example.
Okay, we're going to go to a break now.
Be right back, everyone.
Yay, it's Zen.
Okay, I'm hoping that I am coming through clear, but I'm sure
Yes,
Cathy. Okay,
you
wonderful. Okay, great. Well, I wanted to ask both of you ladies, well, actually all three of you, kind of in your study, what is the model that you adhere to? I know that there's a lot of discussion now with regard to whether, this new map that has come out, the square map, where people believe the sun travels in a straight line from east to west and then somehow just pops back over on the other side. I don't really get it myself, but what are the models that you adhere to, and also whether do you believe that we're covered over, enclosed by a firmament? What's the structure that you've come to the deduce with regard to the cosmology? Karlee, we'll start with you so that Patricia can, as far as get set up, and I don't know if she's got back to the house yet, but
I'm here.
okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, great. All right. Well, Karlee, just really quick, and then we'll go to Patricia.
Sure. Well, I'll try to be quick.
Yeah, no
first-
worries. Take your time.
First of all, I feel like I should say, and we shouldn't have to say this, but just to kind of put this out there first, just because I share how I see my theory and my observations show what I feel the shape of the Earth is, doesn't mean that it's as far as set in stone, and that I'm a map maker, and that what I see you can roll out and use whenever you drive across the country. It's not set in stone like that. But as far as what I can share from my experience and my a lot of what I'm looking towards as far as the shape of the Earth and the map that I adhere to is, a lot of times it's the observations of the sun and the moon. I do look at something like the azimuthal equidistant projection or the Gleason's map as something I adhere to. Like I said, it's not, I definitely see that there's holes in it, and those maps are not accurate. But there's not one map out there that's accurate anyway. So I don't want to hear people saying that I'm a shill because I'm adhering to one or the other. And I listen to information, I take it in, and I adjust my opinion, and I adjust my theories, and I adjust my knowledge as far as what I take in and what I see. So nothing's set in stone, and that's part of this experience, and that's part of being a flat earther. So as far as what I observe, the sun and the moon cycle, and I've put out content videos and shared my thoughts on video logs on my channel as far as how I see the sun and moon cycle. I put out there how I see and why the moon eclipsed the sun, and I've even put out videos as to my theories on how we get lunar eclipses. I also am a big advocate of terrarium type Earth. I did a little study whenever There Are No Forests on Flat Earth came out. And I also had a very Christian upbringing. And biblically, that makes sense as far as having, giant trees that created large, copious amounts of oxygen. And if the Bible and other historical documents are correct, and there were giants in those days and larger creatures, it makes sense that they were also creating more carbon dioxide, which would feed larger trees. I also have a theory that Earth acts as a giant water distiller, meaning if indeed we have a firmament or a dome and we are in an enclosed structure, I see the sun as being hot, the moon as being cold, which we've done experiments on and proven that they complement each other. And since it's hot and cold, they create condensation, which accumulates on the inside of this dome or this firmament walls. It then drips down those walls, and it is pure, distilled, crystal clear, clean water. And that is what creates the ice wall, the barrier. Now, we know that it's that kind of water, that's fresh water. It acts like distilled water. It's clean. It's not salt water because of scientific testing and because of testimonies of people that have lived there. And it's almost like Earth creates its own barrier for the oceans. It's pretty amazing how Earth works, how it all kind of feeds itself. And that's not to say I don't believe that there could be other lands, because I think that a lot of that sort of thing is being hidden from us. There could be land out there outside of where we're allowed to take boats and take planes that we don't know about that could still be inside this enclosed system. And I'm not against the idea of thinking that there may be something outside of the ice wall. If there's a firmament, a dome, we don't know exactly how large that is. So that's kind of my theory in a nutshell. If you want to hear more, I have video logs and content videos on all of those theories that I just shared.
Well, I appreciate you elaborating in that manner, and I also think that the salt water and the fresh water has to do with the way that batteries work and charging and holding energy and
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean the salinity in the oceans, I'm sure I think the oceans have salinity because the Earth kind of has like a breathing mechanism, and that's why we have the tides go in and out. We were talking about this the other day on Patricia's show with Rob Skiba, and that makes sense to me as well.
That's fascinating. I didn't hear that part, but Patricia, can you answer the same question? And if you would, elaborate a little bit more on what Karlee had brought up. For those that didn't hear the show, what you were bringing up in that whole segment and everything.
Well, the show that Karlee's referring to had a really nice panel of people. There were people who would consider themselves to be deep Christians, and there was people who would consider themselves to be more spiritual and esoteric. And it was a really nice balance. And one of the questions I asked is of everyone to go through the panel and talk about whether they thought there was a dome or firmament or covering, whatever you'd like to call it, or if there was an endless plane. And then I was so surprised by the answers because nobody really just said, oh, Karlee took my answer or so-and-so took my answer. Everyone had a interesting, well thought out point of view. And most people's point of view was a little different than the other person's. And there was no battering anybody over the head or calling each other shills. Everyone was totally fine to discuss these ideas. And that's why sometimes on YouTube, I wonder why people fight. We're only talking about ideas that we don't know for sure. You can take it on faith, some of the things that are talked about, but when it really comes down to the scientific method, we'd have to prove all things. And these are things that we're looking at right now, that we've been told that the shape of the Earth's already been proven, that we already know. We even know what's, many, many light years away and different planets and what's at the core of those planets. So we've been told that the world is done being explored. We've got it. But we know even simple things like drilling 8 miles down hasn't been done. And we people who are involved in the flat Earth believe we haven't gone very far up. So, but, everyone else here, the people that aren't involved with this awakening, think that we've been, to the moon. So it is interesting, but I really like Karlee's sort of terrarium Earth and the aspect about the salt water and fresh water. I know the human body itself has a component of salt in it,
Right.
because even wearing contact lenses, I've got to put saline solution in my eyes. When I put regular tap water in my eyes, it'll work, but it's not as compatible as having that little bit of extra, almost you can't taste it, but there is an element of salt in there, and that's what blends best with the human body. So it all seems to fit, and the terrarium Earth theory, let's just call it, is really beautiful, thinking of Earth as being self-containing. And the first person that introduced me to flat Earth was Mark Sargent, and he had the enclosed world model. Now, I didn't just say, okay, that's the first thing I've heard, that's it, that's what it is, I am now going to be a Mark Sargent fan, and I'm going to agree with everything he says. No, but I found it very interesting, and I've looked at all sorts of different models, but what makes sense to me is something enclosed to keep the atmosphere in. And Mark would be describing Earth in some way as a machine. That sounds horribly cold and cruel, as if nothing's natural. It is all natural, but yet it's all created. So it's not natural at the same time. What defines natural, actually? Even plastic, you don't think that's natural, but it's made from natural components because it's made from things on Earth. So we live in it seems like we live in a machine. It's a machine in a way that there's a system that's got the water working, the currents, and there's the sun and the moon, and everything we need is working in a coordinated way, and except for the humans, but everything's working together to make it so that we have a wonderful, beautiful place to live. And by machine, that doesn't take away the creator at all. I don't mean that. I mean, the creator set it up so that what I'm saying is that he could walk away and it would all continue going. Mm-hmm. And smoothly. That's why I don't fear things like nuclear war. I don't fear the other things that we've been told that are possible. A super volcano is going to destroy the Earth. A giant earthquake is going to kill everyone. I don't believe, I don't believe in any of those things anymore, because why would the creator make it? Just to destroy it. Maybe destroy the people, as has been written in the Bible, but not the place where we live, not the terrarium Earth or whatever it turns out to be. But I do think that it is an enclosed system. It almost has to be. But that doesn't mean there's not other land. That doesn't mean a lot. It just seems to work better that way.
Yeah.
Can I add something to that?
Please, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're good.
I love Mark's idea as well, his theory, although I look at it from a more like empathic point of view, kind of like Patricia, and that I don't look at it so much as in like a computerized program. I agree that there's a creator and there is an intelligent design, but I look at it more like a living being, like a living thing. Right. Yeah. It's kind of like if you've ever created something like a pond, and you do what you need to do in the beginning to get it started, and then it becomes its own ecosystem and it will flourish, without you having to do minimal, it just, everything in it does its own thing, and it works out that way. It's its own little environment. And then I also wanted to just add on what I was saying before about the terrarium Earth, and we were talking about the salinity in the oceans, because I didn't finish my thought, and that was my fault. But the reason why the salinity in the oceans is affected is because of the electromagnetism from the sun and the moon. When they do their cycling, it causes the tides. And there's even more theory I can add on to that, but I just wanted to throw that in there quick.
Yeah, we'll actually come back to you. I want to give Cathy a chance to comment and share her perspective and what she has learned over the last few years with regard to the cosmology.
Well,
Cathy?
I do see it as being a fixed plane, enclosed firmament, enclosed as described in the Bible, the biblical cosmology, and also as a perfect ecological system that the creator put into place and has functioned like Karlee was describing with the water. we can create these things ourselves, and this is what he has done, except on such a scale, and it's been fine. But now we are encountering where man is destroying that balance, and in a purposeful manner. I'm not sure what their thinking is about once they've destroyed it, but I mean, they're definitely on that way. We see that, and I think part of that is to hide what we are seeing now. I don't know if they're doing it because we are seeing it, or if it's part of their ultimate design, but that seems to be a consequence of it. And part of my discovery within the flat earth is to look for clues as well, where they are they're distracting us, or they're hiding things, or they are abundantly pushing the space concept. And it's almost a daily barrage of, they've discovered this planet, there could be life here, and they do it at the macro level and at the micro level, or evolution and cellular biology. So it's always these discoveries that the white coat scientists are making that are lending to their overall fantasy, which we used to. I mean, I always accepted it as the truth. I didn't question the scientists, but now I look at certain things that are presented to me, and I can read and see in it where this is something that's telling me that there is a firmament. One thing I had heard Mark Sargent mention on his show, I think in 2015, was about the MIT study in 2014, and talking about a barrier that had sharp edges. And there are things that they say that are like breadcrumbs that are there, and people don't recognize it. But I think we are with our new eyes, where we will see the sun dogs, or like there'll be complete circles around the sun. And the articles that you will see on weather.com or space weather, any of those sites, they will tell you things that are completely untrue from what we know to be the reality. They say it's ice crystals in the sky, but then they will see this phenomenon in the southern climates. So these are things that we're questioning, and I take a lot of that as clues for the world that we live in, and putting that together. So it's fascinating to me. I like Mark's analogy too. I hear who he is as a gamer and his background, and a lot of times it will hit me like, oh no, it's not like that, Mark. But yes, it is.
Yes.
In his concept, and it works that way too. But it's just his method of describing it. I know people don't like it, but it really works well. Like a planetarium, sure, and why not? Because we know now that they're not far out. I mean, that's part of what is in the book Kings Dethroned. Hipparchus couldn't fathom that the planets were, that the stars were where they, I can't remember, it's just not coming to me. But what he came up with was that they were infinitely distant. And that is the problem, because then they had that foundation, and that's what everything was built on in astronomy. And so it's a series of blunders that were heaped on top of other blunders. And it's not that astronomers today don't get it. They've been taught the lie, and they believe it, not knowing it's a lie. But it was one thing after another built upon this incorrect assumption that even Hipparchus wasn't probably doing on purpose. So we're just, all of us are looking at different things, and I have so many different things I'm looking at all the time, and I'm just piecing it all together, and you can see through the fallacies with NASA so easily in the scientists and the experts, and these things that before it was part of the mind control that it would just seep into our psyche, and it would build on top of itself, and that became our worldview. All these things we just accepted as truth, and now it's all crumbled down, and we can see more clearly exactly what is going on. So it helps piece the whole thing together. But biblically, with the firmament and reading your book, Zen, I just, I'm able to piece together the conception of what I think it is. And I'm not getting in any map fights. I just posted a sushi roll. That's the flat earth map to me.
I hate the fights about the shape of the earth where people feel that they have the lockdown and what it's like. And the thing is that I don't care. You don't. There's just no way, unless we're able to get really high up and look down, that we're going to be able to get it exactly 100%. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't try, though, because that's why we've been given these brains. And I think it's a challenge. I think that the Creator made this as a puzzle for us to figure out. Maybe,
absolutely.
Yeah, maybe we're supposed to have thought it was a globe in some way and then change our minds and come to this point in history. Maybe where we are right now isn't just an accident. Maybe we're here right now with these revelations. Maybe these exact same people that we are all here right now for this purpose, to reveal this, to bring this forward, to help with that. But I don't know what comes next. Is it something good or something bad?
Yeah, I think that there absolutely is purpose in everything, and definitely nothing is coincidental. And the fact that all of this as revelation is coming forth, and all of us are being asked to reconsider the paradigm of what the cosmology is, the geocentric versus heliocentric, the Copernican versus, the biblical. And so my approach to all of this, of course, as all of you know, is the study of Scripture, and that's where I receive my truth and my understanding on the things that I've learned with regard to the, because I do believe that the sun and the moon are circling around Polaris as the one fixed star, as we see in the time-lapse photography. That is the luminaries which are moving above the face of the earth, that the earth is fixed, stationary, and immovable, that certainly we're not moving at 1,037 miles an hour, faster than the speed of sound, and bullets shot from a 45 or 25 caliber gun. That it's clear to me that we're on a level. There's no measurable curvature. Curvature does not exist. And so even just these two things, with regard to there being no curvature and the earth being unmoving, it forces us to reconsider everything we've been taught with regard to the earth spinning once daily as it annually travels around the sun. All of that is conjecture and has been proven to be as such. And so whatever we think of the shape of the earth, it's certainly not moving. And so we have to explore new option, open up new paradigm, open ourselves to new possibility. And I think that's what is important in having the discussion, the panels and the gatherings, doing these conferences where people can come together and share in their ideologies. And, we learn together in fellowship and sharing conversation, and that we should do it in a manner that is respectful and honoring as far as with regard to each other and one another, and that we should come together in loving fellowship. And that certainly it would make it so much more of a positive experience. And as far as learning, I think it would be much more beneficial to approach each other and interact with one another in such manner. But as far as the cosmology, also, that I agree with Karlee. I do support the azimuthal, the Gleason, that type of map. And even though it's not perfect, and we're still all having to learn more and more, I think it does give us an idea, and that this is the reason why even the elite fly it on the flag of the United Nations as the seat of world government, that it shows to us the azimuthal equidistant projection map, the continents of the world surrounding the North Pole as the center of the the plane of the earth. And so I think that this is occult knowledge, and that the elite understand and know, and that they are mocking and laughing at us by displaying it as such on, again, the emblem of the world on the seat of world government, the organization which is ruling and controlling the affairs of nations as they have established it, this whole push for world government and all that. And so I do think that there's reason, and again, nothing is coincidental. But when we return from break, we'll go into further discussions on these particular lines. But I do think that, just as Patricia, you were saying with the human body, with the salt content and the way that it works with the alkalinity in that manner, that the body is a representation as well of the cosmology, in the way that the Most High established the creation to be a clockwork system for, the measure of the passing of time, allowing us to keep track of things as they have occurred and have gone on into the future, and things that have occurred in the past, and that the electromagnetic system, the way that the sun and the moon move, I believe that all of that is part of charging. And even with the static and the lightning and the rainstorms and the water funneling down to the earth, the evaporation, all of that, as Karlee was talking about with the firmament and the condensation, and how that creates fresh water, that the system is put into place in beautifully precise and harmonious fashion, and that the Creator really established a work of perfection, and that the creation, for all of us that have now come to the understanding as to the enclosed world, it reflects that there's something very intriguing, and that the intelligent design most certainly established it. All right, we'll be right back for second hour, everyone. All right, welcome back, everybody, for second hour. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Secrets Revealed, and we do have joining us for second hour, Mark Sargent. Mark, are you there, brother?
I am here. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, well, thanks for joining us for the panel. I don't know if you got to hear the first part of the show, but we were talking about the cosmology, and I had asked both Patricia and Karlee and Cathy to just share a little bit about what they think and what they've learned with regard to the cosmology. And so we're going to ask you the same. What do you feel about the cosmology? What have you learned, and how do you view it now in the 3 years you've been studying and looking into this?
Okay, so do you want me to kind of reflect on what my idea was of cosmology before I started this thing, or just what it is now?
Or yeah, both. What it was before and how it's evolved to where you think it is now.
Okay, and I apologize to the ladies, because I was unfortunately on another radio show just before this, and I literally just jumped off and into out of the frying pan and into the fire, as it were. So before I got into flat Earth, I was a huge space nut. Huge, just digested everything that NASA put out there, and everything that science fiction put out there, to where I could not get enough of any space series, whether it be Star Trek or Star Wars or Stargate or any of the cool movies, to where I was enamored with space. Why not? It's if you're into it, it's a beautiful concept. Yeah, it's really big and really scary and really deadly, but it was an interesting concept, and it gave the imagination a place to go. You really got to stretch things. It was brilliant for writers, people that wanted to write science fiction. Oh, I mean, great stuff that you could create with an open universe. Of course, you had to solve big problems like these vast, unimaginably huge distances, but it was cool. I loved it. And then when I got into flat Earth, I never had that feeling of claustrophobia that some people who write me tell me. It's like, look, you just turned this giant place into a one-room apartment. And I said, yeah, I get that. And I'm sorry for that part. But at the same time, it's a very intimate, very cozy it's very manageable. Beforehand, people would talk about, I would think that some people question their significance in the universe, where if the Earth is just this tiny little grain of sand flying at incredible speeds through the galaxy, then what are you? You're nothing. You haven't been here that long to where. What was that Carl Sagan speech where he broke down the timeline, and he said, if the entire history of the universe was an hour or a day or something, that the entire human civilization was like just this tiny fraction of a minute that was the end of this clock. And but for me it was different. I felt purpose. I felt this wonderful attraction to the creative process, which was, look, and you've probably heard me say this before, where I fell away from the church when I left the island and went to college and was broadened and had all these wonderful experiences. And at the same time, I lost my spirituality when I was doing that. I mean, not all of it, but enough of it. And when I got into this, it was like someone had just shook me for an hour, by the shoulders, just rattled me. And then by the time I was done, I was like, okay, so this is where I am now. And it made so much more sense. The cosmology and my cosmology might be different from them. Whereas I believe we are in a giant sports stadium, a planetarium, a terrarium, a domed enclosed structure that is meticulously built with extremely clever design schematics and wonderful care, and the automated systems are brilliant, and it's just so many cool things when you're looking at it from that standpoint. And I know I was lucky because I cut my teeth in my career in the game development sector, so I knew a lot about editing and how you could create worlds inside of software. And once I saw this, it's like, of course, the little things that make all the difference, how you can change the course of history with just these tiny little adjustments. And then being humbled, it's like, okay, we are not the first group to be here, and we will not be the last. And another civilization had to make way for us, and we will have to, and I imagine pretty soon, have to make room for the next group that's coming in. No different than schools. Eventually you got to graduate. You're a senior, you got to go, because we got another freshman class coming in. You had fun and you learned a whole bunch of stuff, but it's time to move on. And that's where I am now. I'm resigned to it, and I have lost, once I finally settled into my new cosmology, I slept better than I had in a long, long time. There you go.
Well, right on. Well, can you also talk about really quickly about your presentation and your involvement with the International Flat Earth Conference? Right.
The international conference, most of my presentation will be involving nudity and drinking on stage. A lot of profanity, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just a normal show is what you're saying.
Exactly. There's going to be nothing new. People are going to be like, oh, God, here goes the clothes. There we go.
Give them what they want.
Yeah, I hope that's not what they want. Because there's going to be a lot of cameras there. We've had, just the news recently, Howard Stern announced he's sending a team 2 days ago.
Oh, my gosh.
I know. German.
Is that true?
Oh, it's absolutely true. Yeah. He of course is not going to be there in the person because he'd be freaking mobbed. Plus he's like 6'7", so he'd stick out like a sore thumb.
Stand out, right?
But yeah, he's going to be there. German television just confirmed today they're going to be there. Vice Media. I swear the camera teams are going to be fighting over outlets. Who's got the power strips, because they're going to be tripping over each other. But sorry, to be serious, the presentation I'm doing, and I've changed it like 5 or 6 times going into this, because initially I thought, I'll do something cool like a timeline, or I'll make it sort of funny. or I'll do a reflect on the different personalities. I'll do, and then I finally realized, as I was doing more and more interviews, I was going, you know what, this isn't about me. It's about the people. It's, and I mean, with a group this large, and it's not even as large as it should be, there's no way I'm going to meet everyone that's there. There's no way. I mean, I've been, with Patricia, we've been to several meetups where there's only 50, 60 people there. And at the end of the night, there's still people that are going, hey, bye, Mark. I never even met them, whoever these people were, because there's only so much time in the day. I mean, even if you spent 5 minutes with every person there, there is literally not enough time in the day to do it. So I modified it, and it's just going to be a Q&A, and I still don't have a lot of time to do it. I'm going to squeeze in a little speech in the beginning, where I'm going to do a quick audio fun thing and a quick video fun thing, quick little history lesson, followed by a poem. I am going to read poetry.
Whoa.
And I know, right? And come sweet slumber and shroud me in thy purple cloak, stuff like that. And people are going, and then I am going to read a quick little poetry, and it's relevant. People will get it. And then I'm going to read a letter I just got from someone regarding that really kind of drove home for me what Flat Earth is right now. I'm hoping to cram all that into about 7 minutes. And then I'm just going to get in a chair and have people line up and have the MC grab a microphone and just start handing it to people. Much like what happened with you, Zen, down in Atlanta, where there's a line of people. And to make it more enticing, because some people, it's one thing to stand up in front of and ask questions when you only have 30 people in the room. But if you have hundreds and hundreds of people in the room, a little different. So I'm going to I've already signed them actually, and I'm going to give out anyone that asks a question, and I don't care what it is. You want to ask me my favorite ice cream? That's fine. You get a card. I've signed Illuminati cards from Illuminati, the New World Order deck, and I'll be giving those to people that are in line. And if you are in line, because there's no way, I mean, how many questions can I do in 45 minutes? Not that many. Right. If you're still in line, I will give you and you're still in line when the thing ends, then we'll just go down the line, hand cards to whoever's left, and then whoever's the last one gets the box. So that's what I'm going to do.
Is the Vegas card more valuable now? Are you?
It is. Yeah. Where are they going for on eBay now? 50-something bucks a crack?
Are they?
Really? Wow.
Yeah, which isn't bad if you can find them. I like to have fun with this stuff. So as soon as I realized what I was going to do, as soon as the Vegas thing happened actually, and we found out that the Vegas card was actually real, I went online and I bought the last of a personal stock from this guy in Europe. So the card is in English, but the small print is in German. And so I'm giving out, I think in the deck, and I bought 6 of them. I think I'm giving out 4 for the Q&A, whoever is in there. And I hope people ask good questions. But again, it's not about me, it's about them. This is, for a lot of people, it's going to be their chance to, hey, ask me a question. Great. Fantastic.
One of my favorite parts of the debate was the Q&A. There were great questions, all ages. Even Genevieve, Laurel's daughter, asked one of the best questions, I thought. So
that kind of started. I mean, conventions have been doing that for years, but you really don't get. I mean, I've seen them at I'm a dork. I've been to Comic-Con for vacation. Seriously, I got just me, San Diego, pennant, hat, and walk around Superman, and. And literally, you'll have a room of a panel of thousands of people in this room, and the line. Oh my God, the lines of people that because they're just dying because they know it's like, look, you're not going to be able to talk to some of these people that are up there. You just won't have a chance. There's only so much time to have. So I'm hoping that we get some good questions. And I'm sad I only get 45 minutes, but that's all right. I don't mind. That's fine. I get to do 2 things. I get to do the Q&A thing that I'm doing, and then I get to co-host the video awards show with Patricia, the last event of the evening, and hopefully we will get to run long because that thing's only an hour, and we're giving out 30 awards. And you know how that goes. I mean, the Oscars.
That's going to take a while, yeah.
Yeah, well, because luckily people, when they go up and give speeches, a lot of people won't want to give speeches anyway. So, like, if Karlee wins an award, I don't know if she's going to come up there with a little crib sheet and say, first of all, I'd like to thank, the director.
Hey, man. Now I guess I've got to rip up my speech now.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that some people would be like, yeah, they'll just shake, wave and go thanks and leave, and not because they don't want to be up there. So
yeah, I'm just teasing.
We're not encouraging people to give speeches. Let's put it that way. There just isn't enough time, because I got a funny feeling. This is my prediction, that the hotel, what'll happen is we'll run like 90 minutes, and then the hotel will be sitting there tapping their watch on the outside, going, "Look, dude, we got to shut this room down." So,
right.
Anyway.
Well, can you elaborate, both you and Patricia, and Karlee? I'm not sure if the news crews have been following you as well, but can you talk about that? Because it seems like they have done a lot of filming already with both of you. Is that correct? And how is that going to be incorporated into, is like the Flat Earth Conference going to be the last segment of, how are they doing that? Or do you have any idea?
Yeah. I've told them, and Patricia can chime in, of course.
Yes.
Are you there, Patricia?
Yeah, I'm right here. Hi.
Okay, just wondering. I know you're being professional and you're not talking. Yes. This is the climax of what they've been filming for the last, a while now, months and months, to where this is it. After this is that. Then they go straight to editing. And up until now, they've been doing, which is interesting. Like with many documentaries, they're actually doing this in chronological order. So they went to Patricia's twice. Is that true? Houston twice? Patricia?
Yes, twice exactly.
Twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the Seattle twice, Houston twice, Denver. I don't know if they got up to San Francisco to see Jaron. But they were shooting, so they were shooting some of the people that were going to be in it, and just doing their own backstories, collecting media, and then they go to the conference. They shoot everybody else that they can, and then they go to editing and wrap it up, and then either pitch it to some sort of production company or try to sell it at Sundance, or both.
Awesome. Well, they also followed you for the eclipse. Is that correct? So
yeah,
that's part of it as well.
Yeah. That was kind of a last minute thing, where, as you know, the eclipse, even though the moon is 2,000 miles wide, the total blackout zone was only 70 miles wide. Little strange, how you can microscope shadows, I don't know. Science apparently has an explanation. Can't duplicate it down here, but I digress. They came up to Seattle, and then we drove down to Salem, Oregon, and we spent a couple days down there, and it was perfect, absolutely beautiful, perfect conditions. I mean, I heard other parts of the country were not so great, but in Salem, Oregon, go figure, it was gorgeous. Not a cloud in the sky. There were some forest fires to the east, but they didn't affect us at all. And saw the whole thing. It was beautiful. We shot they just kept the camera running for like 2 days, which means that's about 10 minutes worth of footage. Mm-hmm. And it was great. And they're going to use that. They'll use the time that Patricia and I spent down at NASA when we were down there. That was great. And they'll also use they also spent time in LA, because it's an LA based team. They went to several meetups in Los Angeles. And geez, I completely forgot. They met me at the Pasadena meetup just recently. I came down there because the Pasadena meetup said, "Hey, if we fly you down and get your hotel, will you come?" It's like, okay. So I went, I was like, all right, fly me down, give me drinks. I'm cool. And we did. And Pasadena meetup was outstanding. And the documentary team shot that whole thing, and they grabbed people out of the crowd and took them over to the park and shot them and made them sign the release forms, and not made them, it wasn't gunplay. Yeah. And it was great, because if you don't sign the release forms, you can't be in it.
Right.
And it was great. It turned out fantastic. So these guys are all out. I'm sorry, they're all in on this. If the rumor serves me correctly, they're going to send a 6-man team to Raleigh, and that's not shabby. I don't know how much I don't know how much Vice Media is going to send. They're going to be there. There's a couple other documentary teams that are also going to be there, and these are just people we know of. The last minute people, which are coming in, between now and 2 weeks from now, I mean, if Jimmy Kimmel and Conan and those guys send a team, it's not going to shock me in the slightest at this point. Why would it? It's the most interesting, because right now the news is really, really boring. There's nothing going on. And that would be an interesting story for just about anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly with those guys being comedians, you know, it would be a lot of material for them to ridicule and make fun of and all, you know. So,
well, think about it this way: a lot of people, just out of curiosity, are going to send groups down there because of what you were saying, because they think, okay, there's got to be some comedic value to this.
Right.
You know, you're going to a flat Earth convention. Oh my God, what sort of characters you're gonna see down there? You know, people with literal tinfoil, people dancing around with, you know, funky music and you know, doing all, you know, who knows what they're going to be doing in the parking lot type stuff. They're going to basically look for whoever stands out the most, and if they don't interview well, then but they will talk to the conference people, you know, because you really do want to talk. It's like, oh, hey, who's speaking at this thing? So they absolutely are going to want. It's like, okay, who's influencing? And when they find out, I don't know what's going to scare them more. Would it scare them more if they found crazy looking people, or would it scare them more if they all of a sudden start talking to the presenters and wait, these people are just like normal. They look just like us. Wait, how can we detect them? You know, you don't know. It's like, which is why the community has grown and grown and grown, because heck, we don't even know. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that 9 out of 10 people in the flat Earth community are hidden. You do not know who they are, because they know, but they're not going to come out. You know, they're in the closet because they don't want to get ostracized by family and friends and coworkers. So, but I've run into it. I mean, I don't. It's been a while. Let me tell you a quick story. I know we're going to break here in a little bit. That thing that happened to me when I left Atlanta. Did I tell you that when I left Atlanta? I think I may have told Cathy. When I was coming through security, they ran my bag through a secondary screen, and I was wearing my I Am Mark Sargent shirt because I thought that'd be fun to wear in the airport. And this kid, he couldn't have been like more than 20 something. He's looking at my bag and he goes, "Is your bag?" And I go, "Yeah." And I'm walking towards him. He's looking at my shirt, looking at me, looking at my shirt, looking at me. And he goes, "Are you Mark Sargent for real?" And I go, "Yeah, man. Why?" And he goes, I am not making this up, people. He looks at me, he winks, and he said, "Yo, man, that's my name too." And he gives me the bag without even checking it. And I was going, holy smokes. There's flat earthers everywhere. And nobody knows, because we don't have any weird designated, you know, we don't wear pins and special stickers on our cars or anything. And the only reason he knew was I was wearing the shirt. And it was really, really cool. Yeah, so at that point, really cool. That made my afternoon. And that wouldn't have happened hadn't I come down to visit you.
Well, I was amazed you went and had lunch and you were talking, and the waitress came over and she was a flat earther.
Yeah,
but she didn't know you.
No, she didn't know me. She didn't even know there was an event happening literally 100 yards away in the hotel. So, and she wasn't even serving our table. She was just a bartender. And all of a sudden she comes over and she looks at us, she goes, "You guys flat Earth?" And I go, "Yeah, why?" And she goes, "High five." And I go, "You're flat Earth?" She goes, "Yeah." And I asked her, I go, "Do you have any favorites?" She goes, "No, I haven't been in it that long." And I'm going, holy. And so I gave her one of my press release flash drives with all, you know, tons of information, because she was trying to convince the manager of the restaurant to be a flat Earth, and you know, he thought she was just some crazy female bartender. But yeah, that both those things happened in a very short amount of time, and which is why I call it the flat Earth, the world's secret guilty pleasure. And you're thinking, what do you mean by that? I was going, look, the Spice Girls sold 80 million copies. 80 million in 2 albums. 80 million copies. I don't know anyone who owns those albums. The reason is because people are scared to tell people that they own a Spice Girls album. It's like, you know, they just turn it on, you know, put on their headphones, you know, tell me what you want, what you really want. You know, they don't tell anybody. That's what flat Earth is to a lot of people. And so when we hit this, and now people think I'm being silly when I say critical mass, when it happens, you're going to have all these people all over the place going, "Yeah, I totally knew, dude." It's like, "You knew?" Yeah, I know. There'll be groups of people just looking at each other. It's like, how'd you know? Because they keep it a secret mostly out of to keep their ego in check, to make sure that people don't, nobody wants to get hammered, for believing in something that sounds silly. So anyway, sorry. I
want to ask all three of you this, since you're very well spoken and well known in the community. We're going to go to Patricia first, then to Karlee. What have you seen, and how many? I mean, the awakening. How large do you think it is? Because yes, there are all these people out there that are not have not come out of the closet, have not stood up and said, yes, I'm a flat earther. They're totally incognito. They just mesh with the rest of the people. But in the meetups that you've done, in the groups that you are part of, Karlee, how big do you think this awakening, Patricia?
I think, like Mark was saying, it's a lot bigger than we know. It's not just YouTube. Here we've got TFR with a lot of flat earth content providers on it, and some are not. And there are other places where you can find it as well. There's places like Twitch. I've never been on Twitch before, but they're hosting flat earth content. Other places that it can go. We don't really know what's going on. I mean, I don't anyway. Outside of America, we know big things are because we can go on YouTube and we see flat earth content being produced in other countries. I can't speak any other language except English, so I do know there's Spanish. I do know there's Japanese. I mean, there's everything probably. Mark would know more about that. But it's a lot more than we know. And just like here in where we speak English, we have the people that are active participants, and then we have the people who are passive, meaning they just listen to things. They don't have a channel. They don't subscribe. We don't know their names. So there's a mix of both, no matter where you go, no matter what country it is. So whatever number you think it is, you could probably double it, maybe triple it, something like that. Mark?
Yeah. Statistically, think of it this way. And we got like a minute. Statistically, even if it's just 1% of the U.S. population, that's over 3 million. That's just in the U.S. And I think it's way higher than 1%. The stats that chart I sent you, Patricia, months ago, where they were, saying, do you know, did you always know? I mean, it was pushing 10, 11%, which would be a huge amount of number, just the United States. I know that Flat Earth Indonesia is huge. The Russian version is huge. UK, obviously big. They've had media looking at this thing. Europe has a big section in this. You want to have some fun, go in and type in Flat Earth in English and convert it to any language you want, then paste that version into YouTube and take a look. Or paste it into Google. It's big. It's really, really big. It's big and it's secretive. It's not sinister though. It's this cool inside cool kids club that everyone's getting on board, and you should too.
All right, we'll be right back for final segment, and we'll open with Karlee when we return. Be right back, everyone. All right, welcome back, everybody, for final segment. Karlee, I want to pose the same question to you, especially since you are involved with so many of these different groups, Facebook groups, Flat and Happy, and others. What do you see with regard to the awakening and with critical mass and us approaching this Flat Earth conference? I can only imagine that after the conference, there's just going to be so much more energy and so many more, as far as these videos and these documentaries and these films, all of that is going to be out there too. It's going to just keep pushing more and more truth out to people and bringing more and more people to this revelation.
Yes, I definitely see absolute huge growth. And, I have a very humble channel, so I totally understand it when someone doesn't know who I am, and someone doesn't recognize my name. But just to put it into perspective, I'm involved in quite a lot of Facebook Flat Earth groups, and I run quite a lot, and we're talking tens of thousands of people that I interact with. Now, I don't always when I'm following a comment thread and I'm moderating, I don't always comment. I kind of keep silent and I watch what other people are saying. I observe quite often, and people don't realize that, but I watch I watch what a lot of people do and say. And not to make this sound like a negative thing, there are people left and right that say, they don't know who Mark Sargent is, or they don't know who Patricia Steere is, and some of the other voices in the community. And you know what? I think that's amazing, because that to me is showing that this community is getting so exponentially large that people can't keep track of each other. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much content and there's so many voices out there now that there are just huge factions of people that don't even know each other. And I'm seeing that quite a lot here. It's very hard to keep track of. And on top of that, just from a Facebook standpoint, there are gigantic flat earth Facebook groups out there. I mean, there's one in Brazil that's last I checked, and that was a while ago, is well over 50 or 60,000 members.
Wow.
There's one that Nathan Thompson runs that is over 70,000 members, and that's just two of them. And there are hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of flat earth Facebook groups. Now, granted, a lot of people are members, in multiple groups, but I mean, it's people don't realize how big it is on Facebook unless they're involved. And then you also have like the YouTube content channels where I see people all the time that they don't have anything to do with Facebook, and yet there's thousands, tens of thousands, of hundreds of thousands sometimes, I'm sure, once you get it all counted up, that are following content channels and have nothing to do with Facebook. So I would definitely say we're growing exponentially, and I can see that the Flat Earth Conference is going to be huge as far as our growth. I really see it growing in leaps and bounds after this. I don't see how it's not going to become more mainstream in a good way, and that this is kind of our goal. Like, some people are afraid of it, or they think we're commercializing it, or whatever their thoughts are. But isn't this the point? Is that we are trying to expose this to everyone? They can make their decision, but we're trying to get the truth out. We're trying to help people, wake up. So I see this Flat Earth Conference as that being the second most important thing. I think the first important thing is just all of us meeting each other.
Well, again, with all the films, the documentaries, and all that material that is coming out, all the books that we're bringing, it definitely, there's a lot of material going to be available to the public, which people can share, giving people books, giving people documentary, Robbie's Scientism Exposed, and so all of that, is just going to increase the growth. But let me ask all of you this as well. Why now? Do you think that this has to do with, as I believe, with the whole ancient alien, that the cosmology, the Darwinian, Copernican, all that is connected to that, and that is the next stage? Or how do you see, why do you think all this is coming forth? And we'll go right back to you, Karlee, then we'll go around Patricia, and then Mark, and then Cathy.
So are you asking, why do you think this is coming out
Coming
now?
to
Do
the
you think
forefront, yes.
Right.
I mean, the end of days,
Right.
what, yeah.
I mean, a lot of people I know, mention that they think that Flat Earth is a psyop, and that it's being leaked on purpose. And I mean, if you're talking about a psychological operation, if anything is a psychological operation and was being pressured and forced upon us, and in our education system, it's the globe Earth model, the heliocentric model. As far as it being allowed,
Right, I agree.
I mean, it's hard to put those thoughts into words. I mean, I know that there are the elite are in charge, and there's a lot of things that they control. Although I'd like to think of it more as in, if anyone was going to allow this to leak, and if anyone was planning this as far as timing, that I would be more apt to say that it was the creator, the one who intelligently designed this. I mean, I think that this is, I think this was his plan all along. I think the globe Earth model was part of the great or grand deception. And I do think we're kind of dwindling down to where it's going to be a tipping point. And I think that that's why many of us feel like this is what we've been preparing for, for a bigger portion of our life. I look back on so many things that have happened to me that, especially on the spiritual side, that I'm thinking to myself, these things have happened to me specifically to prepare me for this truth coming out and sharing it with others as well. Just things that have happened in my life, So that's kind of my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think this is also another reason why so many are impassioned about this as topic. Patricia?
I think sometimes that the flat earth revelation, the awakening, is in some ways a test for all of us as individuals and as mankind in general. Now, you can't say that people are being tested who haven't been made aware of it, but if awareness crosses your path enough times so that you actually notice it, because we all know that things can go across your mind and you don't notice them. It takes a while for it to sink in. Mm-hmm. That's why TV commercials, have to repeat before you remember to go buy a Coke to drink. It's a test because how you react to that is it puts you in the category of someone who can help with this truth or who might hinder this truth. And maybe that sounds bad to say that. That might make people angry to say that. But I really do see it that way. If people react with anger and try to hurt others when they hear about this, they're so mad that they want to really literally destroy people's reputations. You're automatically actually put in a camp of people who aren't here for the betterment of all. You just aren't.
Mm-hmm. Mark, same question.
First off, I think both those answers were outstanding. And excuse me. I would tend to also go with Karlee's idea about a much grander plan. I kind of see it as an inevitability, which there were civilizations before us and there'll be civilizations after us. And all the evidence that we see on the ground now was that this system was designed with a beginning and an end. And it was also a test. And when we were only supposed to be here so long, I mean, look at the sunken cities off of Japan, the sunken cities off India, the Bosnian pyramids, go on and on and on. That this system is a giant school, for lack of a better word. If this world can only be one of three things, or a combination of three things, either education, entertainment, or confinement. If it can't be pure entertainment, otherwise more people would be having a great time. And it seems that human beings do, not to steal a movie line, do seem to define their reality through misery and suffering. If it was just confinement, well, it's a pretty spectacular jail, if that's the case. I haven't seen a jail made like this with all the diverse, wonderful things that were created. It's always felt to me since the beginning is kind of like a school, kind of like an education system where when you go to school, yeah, it's fun sometimes and you're somewhat confined, but you're there to learn something most of the time.
Right.
And at the end, what will we learn? Was this a test for us? Was this, like Karlee was saying, was the globe put into this system as a test for us? Because, could we come back from it? It's like, oh yeah, by the way, you're insignificant. Now we're going to make you relevant again. And when that happens, and if it happens, God, I hope it does, it will be the beginning of something profound, at least to us, and something that we'll remember, to our dying days.
Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
a test in the way that another way of testing is, can we figure it out?
Right.
It's like a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah.
What is this group of humans going to do? Let's see.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. You got 5,000 years. Can you figure out where you are in 5,000 years? There's a lot that has to go on.
Or are we worthy of figuring it out, especially when we, fight amongst each other?
and that's part of the slowdown process. Yeah, you're right. If we were all this harmonious, unified group, like the Tower of Babel group, for example, could solve this thing in 2 seconds. But the fact that we squabble, kind of like, it was something I thought about today, and that is, what if God took the answer and carved it up into puzzle pieces and scattered it amongst the countries. The countries would have to work together to solve it. But when they fight and when they go to war, it slows down the process. It slows it down to a complete crawl. And sometimes, some countries still have blood feuds that never end. And now we're finally get to the end here. It's close. We're right on the cusp of this thing. The question is, will the powers that be try to turn it in a direction, or do they know it's inevitable as well? Not sure.
I think another reason why all of this is coming out at this time is to show us the flip side of it, and that the matrix, the powers, the eye at the top of the Illuminati pyramid, that there is an organized evil that is trying to foment and force upon us this system, this matrix of belief, this deception that keeps everybody locked into just distraction and delusion and being lost, as far as the grander reasons of why we are here, what all this is about. Sure. And so, Satan has kept most people locked into just trying to survive, and nobody has really even time to prioritize the kingdom. But this is bringing it to the forefront and forcing us all to reconsider everything that we thought we knew. Cathy?
No. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Cathy, and then we'll go back to Mark.
Well, I think it's really interesting that this year is the 500th anniversary of the Reformation and Martin Luther. And I have this one quote I'd like to read. The author said, I've been bringing some books back, King's Throne, Earth Stands Fast, 50 Reasons. They wrote in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they were not clouded by the mind control from NASA and from the movies, the propaganda that we're under. And Luther said, they should know that one word of God is all, and all are one. If the Bible is false in one, it is false in all. This is a just and logical saying. If the Bible errs in astronomy, geology, physics, chronology, etc., then you can also, in theological questions, believe in it only so far as you have, from other sources, convinced yourself of the correctness of its statements. If the Copernican system is correct, then Genesis is a myth. Is Scripture, which has enlightened the world for thousands of years, now to be eclipsed by a science which has erred so often and is altogether fallacious in so many things? Much indeed is at stake. Satan is bold. A false principle of an immense import is practiced. Namely, they falsify Scripture by totally ignoring words that do not suit them, or by discarding the right and obvious meaning and sense, and by inserting a different meaning.
Yeah, with regard to the cosmology, I think God is forcing us, he's drawing a line in the sand and forcing us to look at it either through science and NASA and believing in all the lies that are perpetuated and put forth by them, or in the inerrancy of Scripture. And so this is the line that a lot of people are being forced to reconsider and to reassess. I'm going to go to each of you and give you a chance for, comment, and we have probably enough time for 2 comments from both of you. So, as far as why do you think this is important, and what do you hope to see come out of the conference? Mark, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Patricia and Karlee.
All right. Why do I think the flat Earth is important?
Yeah,
just in general.
Yeah, the line in the sand. This whole question of NASA or God or all that.
Yeah, it's important. Well, at least it's important to me because it answers a massive question, which all of us entertain since we're children, which is, are we alone? Mm-hmm. And look, it's this question that nobody can answer because, science will tell us you can't be answered. Oh, yeah, they'll tease you every once in a while, say, well, there's probably life on other planets we define anyway. planets that we tell you where's life and what it's supposed to be, but they never actually, even though, but at the same time, they hide any life that rears its head from time to time. I have no doubt that there are remnants of older civilizations flying around with high-tech engines, and the powers that be aren't gonna release that. But yeah, it answers that question. And the real basic one, if people are hearing this for the first time, the real basic premise of this is, if it is flat, regardless whether it's a dome or not, if it was flat, then it was created. If it was created, there's a creator, and if there's a creator, you were never alone. Not, you always had someone with you, and that should be very comforting. Now, I'm not gonna define that after that, but that should be very comforting to a lot of people. And that's what it meant to me, and that's why I was brought back into spirituality, was because of this. I mean, and a lot, email after email after email that I get from people saying the same thing, which is, I fell away from God, and now I can't. It's not like they were pulled in, kicking and screaming. It's like all of a sudden it dawned on them, and they walked back on their own power to it. I mean, it's like, you can't, because really, you try to be an atheist. I'm not going to babble anymore. You try to be an atheist and be a flat earther. It is tough. It is extremely difficult.
Yeah, and then, the other side of that with regard to the ancient civilizations and cultures is, who were these dragon-like entities, or who were these fallen angels, or the archons, as it says in some of the texts,
right?
The watchers, and what side are they really on? So that's another whole thing.
It's a tough call, because again, not real quick, and that is, I know what you're talking about, and my version of it is, okay, if we are version 7. Let's say, just pick a number, go back. Who was version 1? And was version 1 trapped in here? And you don't forget, as far as their intentions, all the great stories have great villains. So I would kind of lean that, they have nefarious purposes, but you never know. You never know.
Yeah, I agree. Patricia?
Well, it was interesting, because I know the initial question, but it's taking me somewhere totally different than answering the initial question, which is, if there was version 1 and we're version, let's just say, for example, 7, and each version has to be swept from the earth and a new one to start. Well, that's kind of scary, because we're reaching a point in awareness where it would be the time that we would, or in the past in the Bible, would it be because of wickedness? Well, we also are kind of wicked. And is our awareness allowing us to stay here longer? Are we actually, through this exploration, keeping ourselves alive? Or no matter what we do, even if we bring this to mainstream and everyone discovers as a creator, still version 8's coming in regardless. And what does the Bible say? That no more water, next time fire? I mean, that's what somebody told me. I don't know if that's true. But
that's true, right.
So, I mean, we're doing all this, and, in the end, it's into the frying pan, or, the fire. So, I quit.
It's the crucible, but a lot of times that's what refines the gold and brings out the purity of and as far as refining all of us, and that we are forced through this challenge. Karlee?
As far as why I think flat Earth is important, I'm kind of going to go from a perspective of why it's important to me, for my experience, because it's very hard to say why it's important to everyone else. I mean, there's so many options. But for me, and maybe similar to everyone else here on the panel, is it has brought me closer to a creator. It's refreshed my spirituality. It's given me a whole new education and an enthusiasm for nature, and to the point where it brings me to tears to be outside and looking at everything so differently, and it making sense. I feel like I went a very long time definitely questioning the heliocentric model and never really feeling like that made sense. I mean, how terrible is that, to live your entire life and feel like your home doesn't make sense? It doesn't feel right. I also, and I talk about this very often, that to me, it's not as much about the shape of the earth. I mean, I could care less the sizes of the continents and where they are placed on a map, although I think that's romantic and it's exciting and I love learning about those things. But to me, it's so much more important is that the majority of us that are truly in this for genuine reasons are realizing that because this earth has been created with a purpose and that it is intelligently designed, that how much more important we are to each other,
Right.
and how much potential we have as humanity. And to me, it's becoming more and more of a struggle daily, talking to people about, you're completely losing the point. I consider them flat earthers in name only because you're really not graduating to the point of realizing why we are learning about this. It really has nothing to do with proving the shape of the earth,
Right.
We have to learn how to be social again and respectful and love each other, like truly love each other. And I think we've so far lost all that. And to me, that's what's important. That's my goal. That's my mission. That's what I've been prepared to do.
I think another thing, and then we'll go back to each of you for final comment, is that if they have lied to us about this and we have accepted without question, without ever second guessing, that what they told us was true with regard to the cosmology, what else are they lying to us about? And so, it forces us to reconsider everything, and we can't believe anything that they've told us, and we have to really reconsider truth in all facets, and so that's both exciting and scary. Mark, we're going to go to you and then back around again, and we'll finish up with final commentary. We've got 4 minutes.
What am I doing?
Just final comment.
Oh, final comments. If you haven't looked into Flat Earth yet, you know what? No, everyone that's listening to this probably has looked into Flat Earth. Let's not kid ourselves. I'd like to address something really quick, which is there's a lot of, because we've been doing this now for a couple of years, there's a lot of new models and people trying to explore the maps and trying to, what Karlee was saying, trying to define the shape and everything. And there's been a model recently that's been pushed. The 4-dimensional model is what I call it, the 4D model. Just so I can say this on the record, I've never hated that model, and I'm not going to hate it. The problem is that I still remember I'm the Flat Earth tour guide. I deal with new people. I'm the freshman orientation guy. They come to me, and I have to show them a model, and I got to show them something that I can physically hold in my hand. So what I try to push to people is the UN flag, the azimuthal map, dome or no dome, really doesn't make a difference. And the only reason I'm pushing that is because I don't have anything better that's simpler. Remember, to win this war, you still have to get to the lowest common denominator. And that's the bulk of the population. We're talking knuckle draggers, mouth breathers. And I'm sure all your listeners are fine, educated, upstanding people. but there's a lot of dumb people out there. And that's why I do that. So I'm going to keep pushing what I'm pushing. I know people get tired of me doing the interviews and saying the same things over and over. That's my thing. Sorry, that's my last comment.
Yeah, you're educating, and that's what we're all here to do. Patricia, give you a chance for final comment, too. We've got a minute and 30.
Well, I have to say that no matter what you're doing, if you're doing it to help others, then you're doing a great thing. If you're looking at the square map, 3D map, or no matter whatever map you're looking at, that's great. No matter what you're doing experiments, or you're having conversations with other people, or you're playing more of a supportive role. You're doing sort of the Flat Earth Tour Guide 101, Flat Earth for Dummies, like Mark does. Sorry to use the word dummies and you, Mark, in the same sentence. I know. Or if you're doing something very intellectual on a high level, if you're doing it for this cause, and also you're including the creator, the fact that we are, not a function of a big bang, we're not nothing, we're something, and we're important, then I think you're doing something great. And I encourage people to just do that. I don't mean positive and a Pollyanna, and I mean, because there's some dark things we deal with here. There's some spiritual warfare really going on. Right. But to do good for other people when you can, that's what this is all about.
Amen. And we're going to have to leave it with that. I apologize. We've run out of time, but I want to thank each of you for your willingness to come on with us. And